Okay, guys. Hey, just Bryant's checking in on you guys, and hope all is well. And I sure do miss you all. I just kind of wanted to give some assistance to those that may need it for week 2 work. So, first of all, when you go to your Google Classroom, make sure you're not like looking too much at the stream, and go to the classwork tab at the top. And I know that you will have 2 folders of information, but right now I just want to talk to you about week 2. This is the stuff that is due today, Monday, April 6th, but it's not due till midnight. I'm willing to work with you guys on, extending that due date a couple of days if you need it. I'll do another video later introducing the new week stuff, and I'll talk more about grades and how behind I am on updating grades. So right now, I just want to make sure that you know how to do what is expected of you this week, okay? So I would first just go to assignment 1, week 2. And I know that this looks kind of overwhelming when you have it all here. Hold on, let me see if I can move something. Okay, there we go. So you kind of have a short to-do list here. Assignment number 1, to-do list. Step 1, open up the document 0, week 2, March 30th through April 3rd, directions and rubric. Number 2, read through all the directions and information, including the rubric. So I know that some of you are having difficulty toggling between programs and between assignments because you're trying to use your phone. So I think we kind of just have to roll with the punches and learn as we go. But I would think if I was using my phone, I might just screenshot this this document once I have it open on my phone, okay? Or I may just make a short little to-do list, on a piece of paper. Like I'm gonna read through the PowerPoint. I'm going to then open up the form, right? Now, if you are using a computer, you can do the whole open up 2 windows at one time. Those of us that are using a phone, that's why we're struggling a little bit. And so I'm gonna kind of help those phone people here in a minute, just kind of go through the PowerPoint with them or with you, so you can kind of just take down some notes on notebook paper. And then that way your notebook paper will kind of help you when it's time to actually move it over to the form, okay? So the 6 Kingdoms worksheet student handout form is how you're actually moving your information over this week. Instead of, having to deal with typing it in on like a doc, I was just gonna try this to see if this was a little easier for you to do. So computer people, I know you can open up both of those, and I'll kind of show you how to do that. You can open up your PowerPoint. Okay, and what I probably will do is go back to classes on another tab. So, I may have to do something like this. Just so I can have 2 tabs open. And I know mine's really overwhelming, but y'all just kind of ignore everything that you're seeing right now. And then I will go back to that assignment and go ahead and open up my Google Forms. And of course, it's not gonna let me because, I made it and yada, yada. And it might look a little different here. But what you need to do is copy that link and open it in a new window. So I don't know if you can kind of see me. I'm gonna go down to my Chrome icon at the bottom, and I'm gonna hit new window, and I'm going to paste that link. If you need some help with shortcuts, Control-C or, right-clicking and hitting copy is your copy, and then Control-V or right-click paste is your paste, okay? So this is kind of what I visualized for you, was to have the PowerPoint open and minimized, and have your form open and minimized. So I minimize my boxes and I make it both where I can see at the same time my PowerPoint, right? And I can go through side by side, and I can just enter my information on my form. And then as I need to, I can scroll down and toggle the new information. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, that's gonna help the computer people. Okay, to help the phone people, I think what I'm gonna go ahead and do at this time is just go through the PowerPoint with you. And I'm gonna kind of highlight the information that you will need to know for your form. So if I was you, I would just grab a piece of paper, scratch paper, whatever you have, and jot down some information. Then when you go back to do the form, just have my notes right there kind of as a cheat sheet, okay? And then that way you don't have to worry about on a phone trying to toggle back and forth, okay? Now maybe you're just having a little bit of trouble with the content, like you know what the answer is because that's what the PowerPoint's telling you the answer is, but you don't really understand why it's the answer. So this will kind of help you with that as well, okay? But just in case you needed help with anything else, before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and, once you, of course, enter your information to your form, and you go page by page, and then you hit submit, that's that first part of your assignment or your step 1, okay? And if you look at your rubric, the student notes section is worth 70 points, okay? Then you have some easier things that you generally like to do, is those little Google slides, and you can actually drag and drop to manipulate, okay? So this is what step 2 was. You are supposed to complete the classification scramble, and it says drag and drop the yellow boxes and to order your taxa levels, okay? So one thing I want to tell you is King Philip came over for good spaghetti, okay? Species is always the smallest and most specific. That means it has to go in the smallest piece there, okay? Kingdom is the most general and the largest kingdom, so it's gonna go down here in the largest piece. So just remember, King Philip came over for good spaghetti, and then that should help you drag the rest of your order, okay? So once you drag everything in place, make sure you go ahead and turn that in as well. And then the third part, which is to complete cladogram construction. And I think this is all fine and dandy for you to do on your phone, especially the whole slides where it's dragging and dropping. And I think even on a computer, it's not necessary for you to open up different windows, okay? So when you go to slide 2, it gives you the directions that you need. You have to read the information about what these species actually have as far as their derived characteristics or their derived traits. These are the things that they have. So basically, when you look at tuna, tuna does not have 4 legs, it does not have an amniotic egg, and it does not have hair, okay? So this is what we call the simplest organism that we have, okay? So when you go to slide 3, that kind of told me that tuna is going to go at the very bottom. And I know these boxes aren't gonna line up perfect, and that's okay. But nothing about this time is perfect, and I'm okay with that, all right? So these lines down here and the yellow boxes, they represent the characteristics, okay? So a tuna does not have those 3 things that we mentioned, right? But when we go back to slide 2, we learned that a frog has 1 thing and doesn't have anything else, which is 4 legs. Frog has 4 legs, but it does not have amniotic egg or hair. So when I come over here, that means that frog's gonna be next, okay? And the only thing a frog has is 4 legs. But of course the tuna didn't. So this is why we put it right here, because anything to the right of this mark where it says 4 legs, anything to the right actually has it. So frog, lizard, and cat have 4 legs. We understand that. Anything to the left, or any organism to the left, does not have that trait. Okay, so of course, we're saying tuna do not have 4 legs. All right, then on slide 4, I just give you a different cladogram, a different scenario. And on this one, it is a little harder, so we went ahead and gave you some help there. Okay, so trout and lizard are already there, which means trout's not the simplest. There's something more simple than a trout based on some characteristics there. And then, as you go up in the blue boxes, you will get more complex because you get more traits. So on the bottom, lungs and hair are already in place for you. So you just need to worry about limbs, jaw, and tail loss. So again, make sure you look at this chart. One hint I guess I can give you is if it's yes all the way across, then that is your most complex organism, okay? That means it's going to go in this far teal box on the right, okay? If it's no all the way across, it is the simplest because it doesn't have anything, okay? So I hope I just gave you a couple of free answers there, okay? So now let's go back to that PDF, And I actually have the form printed out, so that's gonna kind of be what guides my notes that I give you. Okay, so remember, write these down. We are talking about the 6 kingdoms of life. All life is either made of prokaryotic cells or eukaryotic cells, and everything that's actually living fits in one of 6 places. Okay, we've kind of talked about the 6 places before, or the 6 kingdoms before. And then I think I've even in class maybe mentioned, you know, remember I didn't mention viruses because viruses are non-living. So we're getting into viruses next week, okay? So we do have plantae or plant, fungi, animalia or animals, protista or protist, eubacteria and archaeobacteria. So I hope that you did hear 2 different types of bacteria, and everything else is different from bacteria. And that's also how you will separate it, prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. Bacteria are always going to be your prokaryotes, and the other 4 groups, plant, fungi, animal, and protist, are your eukaryotes, okay? Because of course they do have a nucleus. Okay, so here's where your notes will start. These are things that you can jot down. As I kind of finish my sentence, you may want to pause the video so you can write it down real fast, and then you can unpause when you're ready. So Carl Linnaeus is known as the father of taxonomy. He is the one that divided things into 2 kingdoms, plants or animals. So basically, father of taxonomy, Carl Linnaeus. Make sure you know how to spell it and write it just like it is up here in red. Write that on your paper because that's on your form, and spelling does matter, okay? The next thing is he divided all living things into 2 kingdoms. Okay, he basically put all forms of life into 2 kingdoms of plants and animals. Okay, when you write that on your form or type that in your form, you're actually just going to separate that by a comma. So plants, comma, animals, put it in your form. Okay, since then, since Carol Linnaeus's time, there have been new discoveries. And due to the information we received, we have to give some respect to the invention of the microscope. Because that's when we really got to dig in and see those cells. Okay, so what discovery or technology helped shape the development of the kingdoms is, of course, the microscope. When you put that on the form, just put microscope. You don't have to worry about the word the. Okay. Again, we mentioned that he divided all kingdoms or all living things into 2 kingdoms, plants and animals. But as we develop new technology and we receive new information, that grew. So yes, we started with 2 kingdoms, and then we ended up with 3 kingdoms, and then we ended up with 4, and then we just kept growing due to the amount of knowledge that we received, and now we have 6 kingdoms. So the system that we use now and the system you have to learn was changed multiple times before then, okay? I think this is on your form. And basically what's going to happen is these words that are in red and blue are definitely important. So what you might want to do is either screenshot this slide or try to kind of give yourself the notes that you may need there, because these words that are colored are the words that I am going to put on the form for you, okay? Let me go ahead and open the form so you can see it. Well, you know what? It's not going to let me open it. Well, it might. Let's just pretend I'm somebody else here. Joe's a good kid. Joe Bryant, the son I never had. Okay, so, I'm just going to have to throw some answers in here so we can go to the next page. Of course, those are not the answers. We already talked about the answers. Okay, so this is what it looks like here. Okay, so 4A, 4B is what on your picture or on your PDF, it's going to be plants and animals. Okay, so you might want to list that down. Of course, he started with plants and animals. When you type that in your form, it's going to be 2 separate blanks. So 4A is plants, 4B is animals. Just write it just the way it is on here, okay? Or all lowercase is even fine. Okay, then we go on to see that when we evolved a little bit, we had Protista, and Kingdom Protista is made to group all unicellular organisms, okay? So that means 4C would be Protista, and kind of show you, kingdom Protista is made to group all blank organisms. So 4D is that blank, and that blank is unicellular. Again, like I said, it was red. Okay, now we're going to go on, and 4E is a blank here, as well as 4F, but let me tell you which one. So it says molds, yeast, and mushrooms are removed from the plant kingdom because they can't photosynthesize. Okay, so photosynthesize is what they cannot do. Photosynthesize is your blank for 4E. They get put in a group called fungi. It's not because they're fun and cool. It's just fungi is like fungus, so that's what we go with there. So 4F is your blank, and it is fungi. And then moving on to this next little column, when we, as time went on, we progressed, and we had 5 kingdoms. So it says further studies into bacteria showed they are very distinct. So 4G is this colored word up here that says bacteria. And it says they are removed from Protista and put into a new group called Monera, or Monera. Monera is your last little blank, which is 4H. Okay, so just basically showing you here is the picture that you'll have here. Like I said, if you can toggle back and forth, if you're trying to use a phone and you took a picture of it and you can't get all my notes, that would work too. Or if you're jotting down my notes, I think that's really going to help you. Okay. And then your last 3 blanks are the last column over here, 4J, or 4I, 4J, 4K. And these are going to be the words that are also colored here. Let's see if I can just kind of circle this so you know where I am. So it says 2 distinct groups of bacteria emerged, so kingdom Archaeobacteria and Eubacteria are formed. So bacteria is 4I, Archaeobacteria is 4J, and 4K is Eubacteria. Again, spelling is important, so make sure you pause it, take the time to write it down, spell it correctly, and put it in all lowercase on your form, and you will be a-okay there. Okay, now let's move on. Uh-oh, hold on, let me take off my annotate. Now I can move on. Okay, so now on your form, it just starts to break up each kingdom, okay? So once you, on your form, you get through this page, right? You hit next, it's gonna break down and be a different section or a different page for each kingdom. So you'll have plant, you'll have animal, you'll have fungi, you'll have eubacteria, and then you'll have archaeobacteria, and then you'll have protista, which I like to call, that's the junk drawer kingdom. They're the weird ones, okay? So what I would do from here on out is on your notes, just make sure you title it plants, and then when you get to those questions, you'll already have the notes that you need. Because on the form, it's just gonna ask you questions like, are they unicellular or multicellular? Well, according to our slide here, kingdom Plantae or plants are multicellular. Okay, so I would just write down that word multicellular. You know that multicellular goes with plants. Then there may be a question that talks about how do they obtain their food. Plants are all photoautotrophic, which means photo, they go through the process of photosynthesis to make their own food. Autotrophic is because they make their own food. Okay, so photoautotrophic is probably there as an answer choice on your form. Then it may ask you, what other things are distinctive about this kingdom? Okay, so this is where I have to go back and grade your form after you actually submit it. And you can say like something like, yes, plants have cell walls, or plants have cellulose in their cell walls, anything extra that is on that slide. Okay, so just know when you do that on the form, whenever it's time to type something in, it may be one of those short answers, or maybe even a paragraph answer where I have to go in and hand grade. Okay, so just do the best you can, and I will go in and hand grade it. Some of your answers on your form are just multiple choice, and then there's just, you know, a few here and there that you actually have to type answers, okay? All right, let's move on to kingdom Animalia, or the animal kingdom. That's you and me. Animal kingdom includes cells that are all, or includes organisms that are multicellular. We do not have cell walls. We lack cell walls, so no cell walls. I'd be writing down animals, multicellular, no cell walls. We are heterotrophic, which means we have to go get our own food, which means we yell, "Mom, the meatloaf," or we go make ourselves some mac and cheese. Or if we are another organism that is in a predator-prey type of relationship, we actually go kill and hunt our own food, okay? Animals can live in aquatic or terrestrial habitats. So I think the way that is on the forms, it just says, where can you find members of this kingdom? So I would just say aquatic, comma, terrestrial, okay? Then you would go on to the next section on your form, which is kingdom fungi, okay? Fungi are a little weird because at first they thought they were plants, but then they realized they don't actually photosynthesize. So they are heterotrophic, just like you and me, and none of them go through photosynthesis. So they obtain their food by being heterotrophic. They are different from kingdom plantae because they do not photosynthesize. They do have cell walls, so they're like plants in that aspect. And they have something called chitin in their cell walls. Okay, so you can even see that really cool drawing and that yellow tiny banana things, that's the chitin. Okay, most are terrestrial. And I don't think that's on your form, but there is a question that talks about, do they have cell walls? And then if they do have cell walls, what's distinctive about them? So in that one, I just want you to write or mention that, yes, there's chitin in the cell walls, okay? And again, make sure you spell it correctly, and I'll go back and grade those. All right, moving along, we have eubacteria. So eubacteria is what I call the true bacteria. So this is the bacteria that is good for us, that we need it, it's beneficial, or it's the bacteria that makes us sick. Okay, so you see, a really gross picture of strep throat. So if you've had strep throat before, you need to take an antibiotic, or maybe you've had another bacterial infection. You take an antibiotic and it actually kills that. That is an interesting point to note, that when we're talking about viruses and even the COVID corona stuff, an antibiotic is not going to kill that. Okay, it is a virus, and viruses are totally different. But for today, I'm talking about bacteria. So if you have a bacterial infection, you need a true antibiotic, not like a Benadryl, not like a Tylenol, not something over the counter. You need something prescribed from a doctor that actually kills that bacteria for you, okay? So are they unicellular or multicellular? They are unicellular. So this cool yellow drawing up here is one cell, okay? And of course it has all those cool pieces like flagella and cilia. And then besides that, they just have the big four. They're really, really small. They're really, really simple, okay? They are prokaryotic, right? Pro equals no. And in this, I see some purple squiggly stuff on that picture, but I do not see a nucleus surrounding it. Okay, so from the beginning when we talked about prokaryotes, this is kind of the visual I put in your head, hopefully. They do not have a nucleus. They do not have all those cool structures like chloroplasts and mitochondria and ER and Golgi apparatus and all those other parts that we had to learn for eukaryotes, because they're prokaryotes. And they do not have a nucleus, and they do not have membrane-bound organelles. Okay, how do they reproduce is going to be a question on your form. They reproduce asexually through a process called binary fission. Okay, so I would just kind of put eubacteria reproduce asexually, binary fission, and that's kind of your notes there. Okay, do they have cell walls? Might be a question on your form, and yes, they do have cell walls. They have something called peptidoglycan, and yes, I said peptidoglycan in their cell walls. Very weird name, but just trust me, it's there. In the cell wall. There may be a question about, though many are blank, some can blank like strep throat. So what I'm going for on that one, that question on your form is, though many are beneficial, some can cause disease like strep throat. Okay, so that might be something good to kind of jot down as well. Many are beneficial, some can cause disease, such as strep throat, right? So you can kind of see too, the things that might be blanks on your form, maybe the colored words on your screen, or the colored words are definitely those things that you need to jot down on your piece of paper, okay? Archaeobacteria is our next kingdom. Archaeobacteria are all unicellular, just like the eubacteria kingdom. They're all prokaryotic. Hey, just like the eubacteria kingdom. Sorry, you know, believe this or not, guys, I have a life as a mom, and the children just came back in the house and everything was loud for a second. But I think they'll be cool for the rest of this video, so we'll see. On archaeobacteria, they have cell walls, but this time they do not have peptidog lichen. Okay, so that is a little different than eubacteria. So there may be a question about that. Where will we find archaeobacteria? Okay, so they're weird. Some people or some scientists call them extremophiles or extremists, because if they did like sports, they'd be like people who did extreme sports. You know, those crazy, you know, jumping off the cliff and mountain biking and, you know, all those things that could easily like get you killed or break your neck. Those would be the things that archaeobacteria partake in. So they live in really weird, extreme places, like the bottom of the ocean, in deep sea vents in the bottom of the ocean, where of course there's no sun, no oxygen, nothing. In the Dead Sea, where it's very salty, very acidic, and nothing else can live there, but archaeobacteria can. In hot springs, where the temperature is, you know, past boiling, and other really weird and extreme places is where archaeobacteria live. So none of these are known to cause disease. They are not like eubacteria that actually cause things like strep throat and other bacterial diseases. But archaeobacteria, they just live in really weird places. Sometimes we find them maybe beneficial or whatever, or they have some sort of purpose, I guess, environmentally or ecologically. But none are known to cause disease or make us sick, okay? And then our last kingdom is what I call the weird junk drawer kingdom, okay? Kingdom Protista. So I don't know if you have a junk drawer at your house, but I have like 9 junk drawers or junk areas at our house, which means if we don't know where to find something, I just tell Coach Bryant to, hey, why don't you just check the junk drawer, or why don't you check the other junk drawer, or why don't you check this bin in the laundry room? So it's this place where nothing else has, or like there's no organization there maybe, and it's everything that doesn't fit somewhere else. So, you know, I don't put my silverware in the junk drawer, right? Because my silverware has a place. I don't put my household cleaners or like, you know, seasonings and pens and pencils and stuff like that, maybe in my junk drawer, because I already have a place established for that. So this is definitely what I call the catch-all, the junk drawer, the misfits kingdom, where they literally they do not fit neatly anywhere else. So they're a little like this, or they're a little like that, but they're at their own little kingdom, okay? They literally just don't have a home, and so we call them protists, okay? There are some protists that act like fungi, but they're not. There are some protists that can move like animals, but they're not. There's some that maybe even go through photosynthesis, so we call them plant-like, but they're not plants. Okay, so they just are really weird. There's even some protists that can go through photosynthesis. So they're kind of like plants, but they move like animals. So literally, they could almost be anything. Okay, so when it says what organisms are placed in this kingdom, it's the catch-all. These are the things that don't fit somewhere else. And I think on your form, that's definitely one I have to grade, okay? What 3 other kingdoms do members of this kingdom resemble? So they resemble fungi, they resemble animal, and they resemble plants. So you could just write those 3 things and separate them by commas. And it talks about classifying members of this group is difficult because they exhibit a variety of different and even opposing characteristics. Like, you can find them with cell walls and blank. So you would write without cell walls, right? Then it says they can be blank and photosynthetic, which means they can go through photosynthesis. So they could be heterotrophic, blank, right? That was the blank, and photosynthetic. Then it may say they can be unicellular and blank. So they could be unicellular and multicellular. Multicellular would be your blank there. Then it says they can reproduce blank and blank. Oh my gosh, hold on. Did I close that? Oh no, please tell me I didn't close it. Did I close it, y'all? I don't even know what happened. Hold on, I'll go back. I literally don't even know where I clicked. Okay, there we go. So they can reproduce blank and blank. So they can reproduce sexually and asexually. And it says to just place commas in between your two blanks. Okay? Then it may talk about where they live. So they could be aquatic or terrestrial. Okay? Most are aquatic, but some are terrestrial. And then I think the last thing talks about another scientist other than Carl Linnaeus, and his name was Carl Woese, and he was an American microbiologist and biophysicist who is most famously known for distinguishing archaea as the new distinct grouping of life apart from eubacteria, because originally they were just both in a little drawer called Monera. Okay, and then he was the one that decided to put them in separate kingdoms called archaea bacteria and eubacteria. Okay, so he is most famous for separating. You know what though? I think it's going to be right here. Yeah, this will probably be the slide you need for your form. So he was famous for distinguishing archaea apart from eubacteria. Okay, and you could kind of write something along that line. It's definitely what's on this slide right here. So he was famously known for distinguishing archaea apart from eubacteria, so that they are their own kingdoms now. Okay. Then it may also talk about he named eubacteria bacteria. That's simple. That red word right here. He named it bacteria, this green bubble. And then he named the other one archaea. Okay, so this is this teal blue circle that you see, archaea. Okay, and when you type that in your form, you can just separate that by commas. Then it goes on to say he used phylogenetic taxonomy, right here, the red words, I'm sorry, as well as the analysis of blank. Okay, so that would be ribosomal RNA to help define the blank system of life. So I would say the 3-domain system of life. Okay, so what you may want to do is maybe just write the first few words he used, and then your blank, 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 your 3 blanks that you see with the red words in it. That's going to be how it is on your form. Okay, what domain was protists, fungi, plants, and animals put into? Okay, so we have the 6 kingdoms, but where did we put plants, animals? I think it's right here is what I want you to see. We put plants, animals, fungi, and protists where? So we put them in their own little kingdom called eukaryota. Okay, that means that they're eukaryotes because they have a nucleus and they have membrane-bound organelles. So when you write that on your form, I would probably write it just the way you see it on my slider here, eukaryota. Okay, so plants, fungi, plants, and animals are in one domain called eukaryota. And then it says together, the blank of life and the 3-domain system form the framework for modern day taxonomy. So of course, today we know it as the 6 kingdoms of life and the 3-domain system. Okay, and that's why since the beginning of the school year, I talked about how all life, all cells fit somewhere in the 6 kingdoms. Okay, so we have the 6 kingdoms of life. 6 kingdoms would be that last blank on your Google form. Okay, so once you complete your Google form and these other 2 things, then make sure you turn in. And all of this was information for assignment 1, week 2, right, which is due tonight at midnight. So I hope that you did not procrastinate too bad, but I hope that if this video helped you, you can shoot me a remind, email me, give me some kind of feedback, because if this is not helpful, I need to know. If this is helpful, I definitely need to know, okay? And shortly I'll put out another video that talks about assignment 2, week 2, and then hopefully by the end of this evening, we'll have the stuff for week 3. Okay, I hope you're doing well. I miss you so much. Please let me know how I can help. Thanks, guys. Bye.